Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
The spending plans being proposed by President Biden involve trillions of dollars to pay for infrastructure and other efforts, and he is eyeing higher taxes in the future. Now, we're told the Biden tax increases are expected to target the wealthy, but we have some insights today from a financial analyst who says the impact could likely go beyond the pockets of the ultra-wealthy. Taxes are our main topic again today. As we get started, 863-285-3815 is how you can reach Philip Statler to learn about some of the ways to reduce or even eliminate your taxes in the future. We have a great show lined up today. Jen Rizak here alongside Philip Statler. And Philip, always a pleasure to sit down with you. I hope all is well with you this week.
Hey, doing well. You know, we hit spring, which feels like summer here in Florida, and I think we've seen our last little bit of spring weather as we get back into the mid-90s.
That's exactly right. And, you know, talking a little bit more as you talk about the temperature going up, we're talking about the temperature going up with our tax environment here in the U.S. And I have to say, Philip, I don't know if you know this. We talk about all these multi-trillion-dollar government spending packages. And if you're wondering what comes after trillion, I went ahead and looked it up. It's not a gazillion. A trillion is a one with 12 zeros after it, and the next name number is a quadrillion, which is a one with 15 zero, and then a quintillion. So I don't know if we even want to let the government officials out there know what those numbers are called, because they'll be spending them before we know it.
Hopefully we don't even get close to that number, because I mean, we've already we had 5 trillion in the last basically 12 months. And I know that Biden has another almost 4 trillion, if not a little over $4 trillion lined up that he wants paid for.
Yep.
That's going to be almost $10 trillion. That doesn't include the normal deficit we run.
Right. And, you know, big numbers that we're talking about here. For weeks now, we have been sounding the alarm that higher taxes are probably coming. Most people don't realize we're in a low tax rate environment, but taxes are not going to remain, quote unquote, on sale forever. And even at their current tax rates, they can still swipe away at your savings, leaving you with a fraction of the money you were counting on for retirement. Philip, talk a little bit about the potential impact taxes can have on our retirement savings.
You know, they're the silent killer along with inflation that can really eat at your retirement savings, because look, every time you want to take money out of your IRA or your 401k, guess who gets a little bite out of it, or sometimes a big bite out of it? And that's Uncle Sam. And so, you know, the problem is we don't know how big that bite's going to be, because as tax rates go up, that bite's going to go up too. And so it just becomes problematic. I know that a lot of the discussions we have are around some Roth conversions, if it makes sense for people that are still in a low tax bracket, and those people still working. I mean, we're looking more now, Jen, at doing Roths within your 401k. I mean, I personally, you know, my 401k, all my money I put into a Roth, because I know that eventually tax rates are going to become way more than I want to have to pay. And so I'd rather pay the tax now at 22, 24% than I would at 30% down the road.
And here's what we want to get to as well, as we talk a little bit about why we're worried about higher taxes as a possibility. It's government spending is really pushing this. Charles Payne, Philip, is a Wall Street analyst who hosts Making Money with Charles Payne. He's the author of the new book, Unstoppable Prosperity. And when he was asked about the White House plan to spend taxpayer money, including that $2.3 trillion for infrastructure plus another $1.8 trillion in additional spending, Charles Payne says the impact on the economy is twofold.
There's a dual impact. There's an economic impact and a societal impact that I'm actually more afraid of, to be quite honest with you. Of course, part of the plan is to raise taxes. Even the scheme to raise taxes wouldn't be nearly enough to pay for all this additional spending. And of course, let's not forget the $1.9 trillion that did go through. So we're talking over $6 trillion. And most of it did be spent in the near term, these taxes ostensibly to pay for it over 15 years. Again, it won't happen. It never matches up that way.
Right. It never matches up that way. He says policymakers often say that only the ultra wealthy are going to be targeted by these tax increases, but he believes the impact is going to go far deeper than just impacting those millionaires and billionaires.
Another layer of debt, another layer of uncertainty. And we're talking about slowing down the engine of our economy. They sell these things going after Jeff Bezos. They sell them on going after Amazon. But it's the small businesses that they hurt.
That's right. You can find the book at unstoppableprosperity.com. And for the full interview with Charles Payne, you can go to Philip's website, statlerfinancial.com, to hear more from Charles Payne. So, Philip, I want to get your take here. Charles Payne doesn't believe it's only the wealthy who are going to feel the impact of tax increases, despite what's being promised from the White House. What's your take on that?
So, Jen, in short, I agree with him. As a matter of fact, Dave Onset and I have been talking this last week on our morning show about this exact thing. Who pays taxes and what is inflation going to do and what's impacting that? So you and I, Jen, the middle class folks are going to pay the tax no matter what. I mean, corporations and businesses do not pay taxes. They collect taxes for the government and remit them. So I get in this spiff periodically with folks because they think, no, it's just tax the rich people. Well, it's all going to come down to you and me and everybody, whether it's price increases, which we are already seeing. We've talked about on my other radio show in the mornings that corn this week is up 147% from where it was same time a year ago. We talk about wood prices going up. And I know, Philip, you're not talking about taxes. No, but taxes will do the same thing. As corporations and businesses have to pay more in taxes, guess what? Their cost of doing that, the cost to you and I, the consumer, is going to go up. And that's the bottom line.
And again, the clock is ticking on these current tax rates. What can we do now, Philip, to take advantage of those tax efficient strategies before that window of opportunity closes?
Well, Jen, I think that's where now people need to realize that we are in a very, very low tax environment, and they need to take advantage of it. Whether that means you need to sit down with your accountant and do some Roth conversion calculations to see what makes sense for you, whether it means using other investment vehicles that will reduce, the tax implications. And there's several different ways to look at that and different investment vehicles out there that can help with some of the tax issues that are coming down the road. It's just one of those things that we need to know how much taxes are going to cost us. We need to understand that there are going to be days where taxes are going to go up, and that's an issue. And if you don't know how much your taxes are going to go up, and you don't know how much inflation is going to be, that makes it that much more important that you have some kind of income plan in place to help get you through those years. So if you don't have a retirement income plan, please give us a call at 863-285-3815, and let's sit down and work on an income plan for you.
And we spend so much time on this show, Philip, talking about taxes because it is a major risk to your retirement income. It's one of those areas where we tend to hope for the best. And as you're talking about putting together an income plan, Philip, a lot of people tend to be overly optimistic about their future. That's according to the latest research from the Retirement Confidence Survey from the Employee Benefit Research Institute. They say 3/4 of workers expect to continue working to pay in retirement, but only 1 in 3 actually do that. Nearly 7 in 10 workers expect a job to be at least a minor source of income in retirement, but only 23% of retirees actually have that happen. So how do you help retirees get real with their income picture in retirement?
Well, I think that's part of the process of building that retirement income plan. is really intuitive, because I get people all the time that say, well, this is what I spend. And I have to come back and say, well, does that include this? Does that include this?
Mm-hmm.
Does that include this? Oh, no, I forgot that. I forgot that. So we try to go through at least a little bit of a checklist of, hey, here's some common expenses. What are yours in these categories? And so that helps at least get a better picture. Is it perfect? No, but we plan for inflation within our income plan.
And Philip, when we're talking about our income, we have to talk about the risks that can swipe away at the money that we're counting on. Risks like taxes, for example. We've been sounding the alarm that higher taxes are probably coming. Most people don't realize we are in a low tax rate environment, but taxes aren't going to remain on sale forever. And even at their current rates, they can swipe away at your savings, leaving you with a fraction of the money that you were counting on for retirement.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Jen. And you don't want to assume that you won't be impacted by President Biden's proposed tax increases because you're not, quote, wealthy enough to have to pay those. I bet just about everyone listening has a few areas where they can become a little bit more tax efficient with their retirement money. So that's why, for listeners of the show today, I want to help you with a couple things. One, I want to help you understand the potential impact taxes can have on your retirement savings. Second, I want to help you learn about ways to reduce or possibly eliminate taxes in retirement. And then third, we want to help you create an income strategy so that your retirement income lasts as long as you need it to last. Again, this is only for listeners of today's show. And if you saved at least $150,000 for retirement, call 863-285-3815, and we can help you go over your retirement accounts and uncover what your possible tax liabilities are going to be in the future. And we'll talk about some of the strategies that can help you reduce your taxes down the road. It could mean tens of thousands of dollars back in your pocket to spend in the way you want to spend in retirement. There's no cost, no obligation, but this is only for listeners of today's show. Call right now, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. Glad to have him here today. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And Philip, you and I both know this. It happens every year in every state in America. You have those orange cones and construction zones blocking your way, forcing you to change your route, making you just want to pull your hair out. And all you're thinking is, how long is this going to last? And why can't they plan better? That's always the question I'm asking. These are not questions you want to be asking about your retirement. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't even matter what season it is. So many times I think we are done with it. And then randomly there are those construction zones again, just where I'm not expecting it, and something we can all relate to in terms of wishing for better planning and feeling stuck. And that's really not how we want to be in retirement, right?
Yeah, we don't want to be stuck in retirement. That is not a good feeling. You know, I always tell people we want to develop a plan that gives you the retirement you always dreamed of. And that's definitely not a nightmare, right? And
right.
Travel, like you're talking about, that can be a nightmare sometimes. And so we want a quality retirement, not just an existence.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And it's just, I think we all have those stories of things going wrong when we are out and about, traveling out on the roads. Some of my college girlfriends and I took a trip. We were just doing a mom's weekend, just get away from the husbands and the kids for a little bit. So we rented a cabin and we visited some wineries and just kind of hung out and relaxed, and had a great time together. And on the way home, we had a little bit of a disagreement on the route that we were going to take back home. One of the girls had plugged in the route in her GPS, and it was telling us a certain way, and the other one said, no, that's not the way I usually take. I don't really trust what's going on with your GPS. I want to go this other way. So we ended up going along with what she said. And before we know it, we're in one of these construction zones where it's 2-lane traffic, but it's down to 1 lane while you sit and wait for all the oncoming traffic to go by you. And then you get to go, and then you wait for the other ones to go again. So we realized very quickly this is why the GPS didn't want us to take this route, because this was no good. And then we finally get out of it, and we get back out on the highway again, and we get back up to highway speed, and full blowout on our tire after it had been in all of these terrible back roads. So we were having a great time. We were planning on getting home at a certain time, and just didn't happen. And that's
didn't make it that time, right?
Didn't make it all the way. But
No.
that was an inconvenience. But it's kind of an analogy for what can go wrong. Some of those potholes and bumps and detours you can run into on your journey to retirement only can be a lot more serious when you're putting the money with it, right?
Exactly. There are a lot of different things out there that can divert you from the right path of your retirement. And what are those things? Well, there's different potholes out there that people don't expect. Taxes. I get asked all the time, hey, I'm going to retire now, so I'm thinking that taxes aren't going to be a problem. Well, just because you retire doesn't mean that you get to quit paying taxes. You still, if you have enough income, you're going to have to pay some taxes. And so that, for some people who do it wrong, can be a huge pothole for them. They can have a devastating effect on their retirement planning. Healthcare issues, the market tanking can be a big pothole. It can be earth shattering, that it can disrupt your retirement in such a terrible way that's probably one of the biggest ones that I look out for, because it can definitely change your outcome. And that's not what we want to see happening. We want to put you on a path that's going to avoid the potholes, avoid the construction zones as much as possible. Can we get rid of all of them? No, we can't. But you can do the best you can planning to avoid as much as you can, Jen.
And so let's talk a little bit about what goes into some of those plans, because we all know what it's like to try to plan a vacation, put some of those plans in place. We don't always understand what goes into trying to plan for retirement. I've done a lot of planning of vacations and trips, whether it's for my husband and me or with our kids. I know kind of what to do. I've got the checklist. I know how to do this. I don't really know how to do this when it comes to planning for something as big as retirement.
And it is a planning process, right? I'm thinking, this whole COVID thing has messed up how many travel plans, right?
Yes.
My wife and I, we were supposed to go to a meeting out in California, and we were going to extend, and that was going to be our huge vacation. We were going to go to the Redwood Forest. We were going to go to Napa Valley. We'd never been to Northern California. We're going to go up to San Francisco and then come back down the Pacific Coast Highway. I had it all mapped out, for the number of days we're going to be there. I had it mapped out. Here's where we'll stay. Here's what we'll do. And then all of a sudden I get the call, hey, we're having to cancel that meeting, and thankfully they did, because now California is even worse, right? I think you got to quarantine when you get there. It would have been disastrous. So, so how does that relate to retirement planning? It's the same. You have to plan, and our plans can get disrupted, right? But you have to plan for some of those detours. You got to put a plan together that's going to help get you through those type of things. If you don't have a plan, there's nothing to help get you back on the road, right? You have a devastating event like the market crashes and that veers you off to the left. And now instead of being able to get back on the road to retirement, you keep going that direction if you don't have a plan, and it just exasperates the situation. And so having that retirement plan out there helps you be able to navigate back to being on track for retirement and income planning and all those things that we need to put in place for your retirement.
So let's talk a little bit about how we can reach you to get started on the financial x-ray report process and how we can get started with this planning process. And then we'll continue talking about what all goes into it. But I think it's a good time to go ahead and give that number and talk about how we can get started.
Absolutely, Jen. It's an easy process. All you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815 to schedule your financial x-ray visit. Whether you come to the office, whether you do it virtually, or whether we do it via phone call, any of those things are available. We try to make it as easy as possible to start that process. Or maybe you're not ready to take that big step yet. Maybe you just want to have a phone conversation. And that's easy too. Give us a call at 863-285-3815 to schedule your 15-minute phone consultation, and then we can go from there. It's really that simple, Jen.
That number again, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. And I think as we talk about this planning process and putting together this kind of roadmap for retirement, the other challenge, we've been talking about planning. I know what it's like to plan for a vacation. When we talk about a roadmap, I know what that means. I can picture an actual road atlas that I have in my car, or I know what the app looks like that I look at when I'm on the road. I'm looking at that GPS, but I don't really know what a roadmap for retirement actually looks like. So could you talk a little bit about just what that looks like when we're done with this process?
Yeah. So when we look at a roadmap, it is really figuring out your destination. And for most people, the destination is one, what do I need saved up for retirement? And two, how much income am I going to need to live the retirement lifestyle and dream that I have in my head? And so that becomes the roadmap is year in and year out, what does my income look like? That's the roadmap is, okay, we know where you are. We've done the risk analysis. We've done your risk tolerance. We've looked at your expenses. Now, the next step is, how do we know how much income you're going to need and how much income can we pull out of your portfolio? And so that's where the income planning process comes into place. And we do that. We believe in the bucketed approach. So we set up buckets. The buckets are going to last for so long. And so that gives us the ability to say, okay, look, here's where your money's going to come from for X number of years, whether that's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever that is, that bucket's going to take you through that period of time, usually 7 years. Then we got the second bucket. That second bucket is going to take you another 5 to 7 years. And then we got a final bucket that's going to really last as long as you're both alive. And so, we structure that income plan, and then that allows us to have a growth bucket that we don't have to worry about taking money out of, except for, hey, maybe we have a big fun trip, or, it's time to buy a new car, or it's time to take that big trip we always wanted to take. Oh, okay, that's the growth bucket. That's for those type of things. That becomes our atlas to retirement. That's our path, and that will get us all the way through retirement.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and I am Jen Rezac alongside. And that whole path of getting to and through retirement, that's what this planning process is all about. That's why we talk about this each and every week, because Philip, what isn't a plan, what isn't counting as a roadmap for retirement as we talk about putting all of this together, is building up your savings, doing a great job, having a lot in your 401k or your IRA, and then just treating it like an ATM. Whenever you need cash, you go get that to pay the bills or whatever you need in retirement. That's not what we're talking about here with the
No.
planning process, right?
No, that is a disaster waiting to happen, Jen. That will spell disaster for folks if they don't have a plan in place and they just periodically dip into their retirement account because they need this, or hey, I'm running a little short this month, I'm going to take money out here. And the problem is they don't realize how much they're taking out. And unfortunately, I've had that happen to clients. They didn't stick to the plan that they put together. They continued spending like they were still working, and it was not a good thing. And it doesn't happen very often, but every now and then, you'll run across somebody that just can't stick to the plan, and there's no reason they can't other than willpower, and they just don't have the willpower to do it, and it's sad to see, and it's frustrating to see as the advisor who put the plan together, and we sat down and put all the issues in there that and we even inflated it because we knew we could have some issues, and so, but what happened? This would arise, that would arise. Maybe it's a family member we want to take care of instead of taking care of ourselves. And that can be detrimental. And that's where being that retirement coach comes into play too. It's as much about your money as it is about coaching you into and through retirement. I would say even it's a bigger part, Jen, being the retirement coach, being that guy there that you can call and talk to and help, figure out what direction to go. That's our process. The money's fine, but we want to be there to help you walk through retirement, not from just the start, but all the way through the finish. Give us a call right now to start our financial x-ray process for your retirement situation. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back after this.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
You toss a penny over your shoulder into a fountain and you make a wish. You look into the fountain and see a lot of pennies, but you see some quarters too. You think, who throws quarters when pennies will do? Now think about the taxes you could be paying in retirement. Do you want to throw pennies or quarters to Uncle Sam? Philip Statler at Statler Financial knows that not planning for taxes in retirement can drain your savings. Taxes can be complicated, so start planning now so you aren't caught off guard in retirement. Call Philip at 863-285-3815. Together, you'll create a plan designed to help you keep as much of your money as possible. Watch your pennies and quarters in retirement. Tell Philip Statler at Statler Financial what your retirement wishes are. Call now, 863-285-3815. That number, 863-285-3815. Our firm offers insurance services and may not give tax advice. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here with Philip Statler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip, the guardrails on a bridge are there for a reason. They keep you from going over the edge. And also, you just feel better knowing they're in place. You can go across with more confidence when there is something to keep you from falling. And every time we talk about being up on kind of a high rise type of area and having guardrails or having no guardrails, I think of the road to Hana in Maui. Have you and Joyce been there? Have you done that before?
Yes, we have done the road to Hana. That is can be a scary road, that's for sure.
It is something, and it gorgeous, breathtaking views, but so many times there's just not much that would keep you from going down into the ocean below.
Like there's not much road there at all,
right,
to be honest.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, narrow road and then just hardly any guardrail. And to me, anytime we got to a place where there was a little bit more of a barrier, I physically felt more relaxed. I could actually loosen up a little bit and stop being so tense and enjoy the view that I was seeing. But anytime there wasn't that guardrail there, you get a little tense. And I think I would rather, when I think about my retirement, I'd rather be less clenchy and not have those knots in my stomach and be able to enjoy the view. So, how do we set ourselves up so that's what we're experiencing in retirement? Not that, yeah, it's awful pretty out there, but I'm real nervous about what's going on.
Yeah, not having guardrails there, it can be an issue. And even if you have guardrails there, there's times that my wife gets really nervous because I look over here and I look over there at all the beauty, right? I mean, that's why we're driving through that area. So it can be problematic. So how do we do that? How do we put some guardrails on our retirement plan and make sure that it's going to work for you? And that's really the thing. That's why every plan is really individualized, because not one plan will fit everybody. As a matter of fact, the plan that we do for you isn't going to work for anybody else out there. And so how do we instill confidence in that retirement planning process? And I think the big thing for that is the income plan part of it. If we map out your income that you're going to be getting month in and month out, then that gives you that relaxation feeling that, hey, I can, that's, with my Social Security and everything else I've got coming in, if I've got this amount coming out of my retirement accounts, hey, that's more than I need. And that's what we like to see. We don't want to put everybody on this really thin budget. That's not our goal. We want people to have the retirement they always dreamed of. And that's not pinching pennies,
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's having abundance and being able to do the things you want in retirement. Unfortunately, there are times that Philip has to be the bad guy and say, okay, look, you've not saved enough to be that abundant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do this, but you can't do that. And that's where that retirement coaching really comes into play, Jen.
And as we talk about the things that could send our retirement tumbling over the edge, the reason we have guardrails is because of things like taxes and healthcare costs and volatility. So you see why we want to put these guardrails up when it comes to our retirement money. But you can also overdo it as well. When you think about protecting yourself from stock market risk, you might want to go completely safe, get everything out of the markets. But I go back to that whole road to Hana visual, Philip, and even though I would have appreciated a few more guardrails, if there was an 8-foot concrete barrier completely boxing us in and impeding the view altogether, well, that's not better. That's not what we want either, right?
It was safer though, right? You'd be safe. You wouldn't fall over the edge. But,
yeah.
But it does do away with the view, which is the reason you were taking the risk to go up there in the first place. So you're right. So how do we really equate the road to Hana to our retirement? Well, we need to have guardrails in place to protect us. But it also means we have to take some risk in retirement. And I think I've said this before on the show, but I get both extremes. I sit down with folks who have 100% of their portfolio in the market. And I sit down with folks that have 0% in the market and everything's safe either in the bank or in a fixed annuity that can't lose any money. Mm-hmm. And neither one of those cases is the right way to go. That's why I believe in the rule of 100. We take 100 minus your age. That's what we should have in the risk bucket. Now, is that a tried and true? We're going to do that every time? No. It's kind of hey, this is a starting point. If somebody is more risk adverse, wants to take more risk, okay, we'll take more risk. But we're going to still stay within some realm of that rule of 100. As our basis for making those decisions. The same is true on the other side of the game. Somebody's ultra conservative. They don't want to take any risk. Well, we need to have a little bit of risk to help keep up with things like inflation, to help grow that growth bucket. And so that's the other side of that conversation. And that's where we have to piece everything together based on the individual. And so everybody's different, and what their risk number is going to be different. And so we have to build that plan based on, one, their risk number, two, the rule of 100, three, what kind of income are they going to need in retirement? So there's all kinds of variables we have to put into place to make sure the plan is going to work for them. But the starting point is truly, how much risk do you have in your portfolio? Because if you don't know that, then you don't know where you are. If you don't know where you are, you don't know where you need to get to. So we start with our financial x-ray. It's easy to do. All you have to do is give me a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815 to get started on your financial x-ray.
That number one more time, 863-285-3815 to get started on your financial x-ray with Philip Statler. That's 863-285-3815. Philip, talk a little bit about, as we talk about that balance between safety, we don't want too much at risk, and also, but we have to have a balance with growth as well, because we do need some. Talk a little bit about the impact of things like inflation if we don't put that growth piece into our plan.
Well, we call inflation the silent killer of retirement. And why is that? Because it sneaks up on you. Right now, inflation is so low you can't even see it. I mean, it's 0.1% right now. But that's not normal. We expect normal inflation to be between 2 and 3%. And folks, that adds up over time. If you're going to be retired, what do they say now? Life expectancy is easily going to be the mid 80s to early 90s. And it's not unusual. I mean, I look at the papers all the time, and, I was talking to actually one of my clients the other day, and her father-in-law is 105, 105. And
Wow.
Still, I mean, he's not living at home now. He's finally in assisted living, but that's only happened in the last 2 years. So he lived by himself till he was over 100. If we're going to live that long, and none of us think we will, but there's some of us out there going to live that long, inflation is going to be a big deal. And if we don't have any exposure to the markets, then we can't help account for that inflation. We can't help offset that inflation. And so that's why I feel it's important that we have at least some, even if it's only 10%, 20%, actually in the market, watched over, not just sitting there, with some, hey, we'll just set it and forget it. No, we're going to be tactical. We're going to be very watchful over that portfolio to make sure it's doing what we need it to do. And if it's not, we'll make changes to it. It's that simple. But you need that. And you got to have that in your retirement portfolio.
Just a lot of different risks, because the big challenge is we don't know how long we'll live. We could end up being in that situation where we are healthy and independent until we're 100 years old, or we could end up needing some sort of assisted living, and that's costly as well. We just don't know exactly how this is going to unfold as we get into our later years, but it is possible to do the planning so we don't run out of money, right?
Absolutely. And that's the focus, is putting together that plan. And too many people just don't do it. And I understand why. Don't get me wrong, Jen. I get it. Nobody wants to sit down and walk through that process of how much am I going to really need? What's my budget going to look like? And where am I at now? And if I'm short, what do I have to do? I have to save more money. Mm-hmm. That means I have to do without right now in order to have the savings to live the retirement I always wanted to. So I know there's a lot of variables in all that, but you can't do it by yourself. You can't start that retirement process and plan it out properly by yourself. You need a retirement coach. That's what we're here for, is help coach you into and through retirement. I don't want to just take care of your money. I don't want to run your money. I don't want to just put together an income plan. I want to be your retirement coach. That means I'm here as your 911. Emergencies pop up. Things need to be taken care of. I want to be your 411. You need information. You need help buying big ticket items. You need help negotiating things. That's what we're here for. We're here to help walk you through retirement, coach you into and through it, and to be by your side. If you're ready to get started with your retirement plan, give me a call at 863-285-3815 to get started with your financial X-ray. That's 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. Stay with us.
Call Philip Statler today to get started on your complimentary financial X-ray report. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. He gets questions from people all the time about all things retirement. So, Philip, we have a collection of people. We went out, got some common retirement questions. We figure if these folks have questions about these things, you listening probably do too. So what do you say, Philip? Should we get into our Man on the Street segment and hear the questions that the people out there have?
Absolutely. We'll see what kind of questions they have today.
Yeah, we have a good collection of them today. Our first question, we ran into Al, and here's his question.
Hey, so my buddy down the street keeps bringing up this investment over and over and over again. He's excited about it. He swears by it. I'm interested, but I'm also concerned because I really don't know a whole lot about it. So what would be the best way to research something like that? Because I've always heard that you should always understand what you're investing in.
Absolutely, Al, definitely. You do want to understand what you're investing in. And one way to do that is to do some research, right? So Google sometimes can be a bad thing, but Google the company, see what kind of articles there are out there to read about. Other than that, you need to go to the company's website. They usually will have an investment relations section on there. See if you can't get their income, their financial statements. I would say read the prospectus, but you'd go to sleep if you read the prospectus. But I would say look at what analysts have to say. Look at some different analysts that might be following that company to make sure what they say. Are they buying it? Are they selling it? Are they holding it? These are all some ways that you can at least get some idea about the company. But remember this, Al, just because your friend or your brother-in-law or some family member is making an investment, their financial situation could be totally different than yours. And so you need to look at it from your perspective, not from their perspective, and make sure that they're not trying to sell you something that they're going to benefit from. That's the other thing I'd warn you about.
All right. Good question, though. Certainly something to keep in mind, I think, as well, Philip, that there might be something that's worked really well for our brother-in-law or our neighbor or our coworker. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for us. So just another thing.
That's right, Jen. And it could be they bought it 6-8 months ago, and now it's not the time to buy it.
Yeah,
right?
they got it at the right time.
Right.
Why
go buy it now?
Right, exactly. So, yeah. Lot of things to think about there. Next question is from Pete, and I'll let Pete ask the question. Here we go.
I'm a freelancer, and I've always had enough income, but I don't have a company 401k that I can contribute to. So what are some options for me when it comes to saving for retirement? I'm 47, so I do have some time, but I don't want to put it off any longer.
I'm glad you don't want to put off any longer. That's a good sign. So, you are self-employed. You have a Schedule C. You have your own business as a freelancer. And so there are a lot of different options out there for you to create your own retirement plan. You can do a solo 401k. You can do a simple plan. You can do a SEP. So which one of those is going to work best for you? I don't know, without sitting down with you to really look at your tax returns and look at your net worth to really kind of make that determination. I'd love to do that and help you with that process if you'd like. But there's a lot of retirement options out there. I would think between a financial advisor and a tax person, you could figure out which one would be best for your circumstances.
All right. Great question. And let's just go through that real quickly as you talk about that process for helping people determine the right options. Philip, can you just tell us about that real quickly before we move on to our next question?
Absolutely. When we're sitting down with folks, there's a lot of things that have to go into making financial decisions. And so we look at, how much do you have in your IRAs or your retirement accounts? How much do you have that's not in your IRAs and retirement accounts that you have access to now? How much are you going to need to live off of in retirement? And then what's your current tax situation? Because we want to make tax sensitive recommendations when we sit down with folks to do these things. And so really and truly, for me, I believe people have to know where they are right now in order to know if they need to make any changes. And so many folks I sit down with don't really know where they are right now. They don't know how much risk is in their portfolio. They don't know how much they're paying in fees and expenses. And so you can't move forward unless you know where you are moving from. And so that's really the first part of our process, Jen, is determining that. And then from there, we decide what road we need to go down. Is, tax planning more important? Do we need to do retirement planning? Or is it time now to start doing retirement income planning and get ready for that final quarter of the game that we're going to retire?
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. This is our man on the street, or I guess men and women on the street part of the show, because our next question comes from Roberta. And let's take a listen to what she's worried about.
Oh, lately, all the negative news has just been overwhelming, and I just want to tune everything out. But I know it's really important to stay informed. What should I do?
Good question. Good point. It is tough, right, to stay focused and to not let all the outside noise really get us down on what's happening out there. So, I get this phone call quite often in the time we are right now with all the negativity going on out there. I get this phone call. Are we invested properly? Do we need to get out of the market right now? So here's what I tell my clients, because I know it's true for a fact that what's happening in the indexes that they see on the news is not what's happening in their portfolio, right? That we don't just own the S&P 500, the Dow 30, and the NASDAQ. That's not where we are. And so your portfolio may look a little bit like that, but it doesn't look exactly like that. And so, I tell people that's why you have a plan in place, is to walk through these up and down times. And so trusting your financial coach that he's made the right choices for you and that he's sitting down with you on a regular periodic basis to ease those fears. That's huge, right? Is being available to kind of walk through that to make sure that you're getting your questions answered, that, he understands your concern, and that the portfolio that he's using or the investments he's using is addressing that concern that you currently have. That's important to make sure you're working with the right person too, that's going to give you that, right? And so I would think that's a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But sitting down with your financial advisor on a periodic basis, just to make sure that you're being heard and to make sure that your portfolio and what you intended to do, right? That's just so important.
All right, let's do one more. Last person we ran into for our segment here today is Jan, and let's take a listen to Jan's question.
Our youngest will be finishing high school next year, and it's really hitting me because I'm not sure we've saved enough for the future. We've just been so busy with life that we haven't thought much about retirement. What should we do first?
Jan, I've been there, and I will tell you that you might have 4 more years before you can really focus on retirement. Getting through college, maybe. If you could do it now, that would be great. But so once that event happens and you're to the point, then you need to focus on retirement. And that starts by getting the most out of your current employer retirement plan. So if you have a 401k at work, making sure that you're doing all you can to get the most out of that, the biggest match you can get. Make sure you're putting enough away. Sitting down and putting together a financial plan would definitely help give you a roadmap to save for retirement, to know how much you need in retirement. What's that number for you? And I think that would calm a lot of your fears and erase a lot of that uncertainty that's out there, is if you had a plan in place that would get you from where you are now at your age to where you want to be when you get ready to retire, and give you that roadmap to go on. It is going to be huge. And I think that's for you is probably where it starts, is, sitting down with somebody and developing a true financial plan to see what it's going to take to get you to the retirement you've always dreamed of.
So a great collection of questions here today, very diverse set of questions. And I do think it's important when we look at a question like Jan's, this is a lot of people. We're just busy with life. We haven't, so many times we're so busy thinking about what we're dealing with right now and tomorrow and next week. It can be hard to think about retirement down the road. So Philip, I guess, what's your final message for our listeners here today, and for people who do have questions? They do want to make sure that they're on the right track. What should those folks be thinking about?
I think that no matter where you are in life, we need to think about the end game. I mean, that's the whole deal, is we need to think about the end game. And the end game is at some point we're going to retire. So what do we need to do to prepare for that? And there's going to be bumps along the way. We're going to have kids. We're going to have to put them through school. We're going to have to get them through college. And then we may have job changes. We might have other health issues. There's a lot of things that could be bumps in the road. But by having some kind of plan in place that you sit down and look at least once a year, even if you're younger, having that financial plan, that roadmap to your financial freedom, I call it, in retirement, is huge. And that's a good starting place to kind of know where you need to be and when you need to be there. It allows you to tweak things along the way as we continue to make improvements towards our retirement. It allows you to get back on track if you get off the track, because now you know what that track looks like. Let's listen. If you're not sure about your retirement, if you're not sure where you are today in terms of risk in your portfolio, expenses you're paying, will it be enough? All the questions that I know go through your head as you start to think about retirement. Give us a call at 863-285-3815. That number is 863-285-3815. Don't procrastinate. Don't put off any longer. Pick up the phone. Give us a call. 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.